right, so we are starting ancient India today. I'm going to skip through some of these beginning slides. And today we're going to be talking about the geography, specifically in this, in all of India, but we're going to focus in on the Indus River Valley civilizations. That's that one river that I told you that civilizations developed on. The first two that the big two that we're going to talk about are Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. So we're going to skip through to talk about the geography. So like I told you when we were doing our maps, India has everything. They have mountains, plains. They also have tropical forests, and you're seeing a picture of that right there. They have definite rivers, and they have deserts. So they have kind of they have a mix of everything in India. It's very, what I said when we were doing our map, geographically diverse. Let me see if I can close that and move my face, there we go. Okay, so ancient India is a mix of a few different countries. It's also India, but it's also Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Pakistan. And that is the subcontinent. The subcontinent, one of your vocabulary words, is that large landmass that is part of a continent. It's in South Asia. This area was once an island. And like I told you before, they believe it was separate, and that the movement of those tectonic plates pushed India into the continent of Asia. And when that did, they crashed and formed a whole bunch of mountains. And you saw when we did our map that that whole top part of the subcontinent of India is covered with mountains. And this happened millions of years ago. All of this is the subcontinent of India. So these are the modern day countries that are in here now. Back then it would have all just been India. So like I told you when we were doing our map, the Himalaya mountains, we're going to talk about them here, and also we're going to talk about them in China because they also border China. As the lands push together, they move the Earth's crust like that upwards to form the Himalayas. And the Himalayas is very long. It's 1,500 miles long, to be exact. And there you go, is a picture of those big peaks covered with snow because they're all really high and they're cold. These are the world's highest mountains. They include Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth. Most of you knew that the tallest mountain was Mount Everest. You just didn't know that it was in the Himalayas. So there you go, Himalayas. There are lower mountains on both sides of the Himalaya. And one of those we know is the Hindu Kush. Those are a lot easier to cross. That is Mount Everest. It is very tall. People try to climb that every year, and there have been lots of deaths of people that have tried to climb that every year. You can read about people trying to cross the Himalayas. You could see that a lot of times when they die, especially up higher here, because they are either too cold, they run out of oxygen, whatever it is, their bodies, actually, they have to leave them there because there's no way to get them down. And so if you ever become a mountain climber, you might be able to use human bodies as landmarks when you're climbing Mount Everest. It is really high, and you got to even have, so a lot of people, I think you have to have supplemental oxygen when you go up there because it's way too high. So more geographic features of India. If I can move my face around. I have what's called sticky face syndrome. It only wants to move in about one direction. Here we go. All right, the Hindu Kush Mountains. Again, Himalayas are over here. In India, I'm pointing the wrong way, but they're on the upper left side of India. They separate what is now India from present-day Afghanistan, right back there, Hindu Kush. These northern mountains form a natural barrier against invaders. So we talked about this before. This is usually one of the very good benefits of having mountains, is that you have a natural protection. People don't really want to cross the mountains. People definitely don't want to cross the Himalayas. They are very dangerous, especially if you're not like a trained mountain climber. You're not going to climb through those Himalayan mountains. But the Hindu Kush were a little bit easier, and there was a pass through the Hindu Kush. So the Aryan people that we're going to talk about in a few days, they do come through the Hindu Kush, and they bring a lot of that Hinduism, that the basis for Hinduism that becomes so popular, and it's still very popular today. The Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, and the Bay of Bengal give it protection too. That's all the water that surrounds the bottom side, which makes it a peninsula. And like I just said, India is a peninsula. It's surrounded by water on three sides. I don't know what that line is right there. That's weird. All right, so the Deccan Plateau, which has smaller mountain systems, makes up much of southern India. That's the eastern and western Ghats. The plateau's in the middle. Remember, a plateau kind of goes up and then it's flat on the top. This shows you more of more deserts, plains, which we labeled in our thing. The Himalayas are up here. The Deccan Plateau. These are the eastern and western Ghats right there. Surrounded just tons of geographic features in India. And again, there are two really, really important rivers, and that is the Indus, which is important to the river valley civilizations, and then the Ganges, which is still important today to people that practice Hinduism. Like the Tigris and Euphrates in Mesopotamia, like the Nile in Egypt, these rivers would flood and dump that silt, that fertile soil that was great for farming on the land. That is the Ganges River. And like I told you when we were doing our maps, that is what the Ganges River looks like today. It is very dirty. People use it. Like I told you, people bathe in it. They do religious rituals and ceremonies in it. And it is just kind of a mess. I would never get in that river personally myself. Yuck. And there's the river running through the mountains. You can see that it floods from the mountains and deposits the silt. There we go. Okay, so monsoons, I talked to you about those yesterday when we were doing our maps again. Monsoons are strong seasonal winds that influence climate. These winds bring a dry season in winter and a wet, rainy season in summer. So like we said when we talked about monsoons, most people think of that rain. Common colloquialism that we use today when it's like raining really super hard, we say, man, it's like a monsoon out there, because we're referring to those rains. India gets about 80 to 90% of their rain, their water for the year from the monsoons that come in the summer. It rains about 3 months out of the year. So like for 3 months in the summer, it's pretty much straight rain most days. And that rain is super needed, because if it didn't rain for those 3 months, they wouldn't have enough water. So they store it in wells even today. Again, same thing. They store it in wells, they store it in basins, they keep it for them as they need it throughout the year. Just when it starts to get to the point where they're running out of water, it's back to monsoon season. But in the winter, it is a dry air. And so again, it doesn't rain in the winter. So monsoons doesn't really refer to the rain it brings, just the winds. The characteristics of the Indus River Valley were nearly ideal for farming. It had great soil, had a good water supply. It encouraged the nomads. Nomads are people that go from place to place without a permanent home, and encouraged them to settle there once they learned to farm, like in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Villages emerged around 2500 BC, and some of those villages grew into cities and civilizations developed. And those first two civilizations, again, like I told you, are Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. That is an image of the air, the seasonal monsoons going that way, the summer ones, the winter ones going this way. And there you go, farming today in India. All right, we are going to pick up with this part tomorrow. There are 2 videos that we're going to watch that I will share with you after we're done. But I hope you learned a little bit about the geography. Again, good for farming. These are benefits. Good for farming. Protection by all the geographic features. Mountains could be very isolating. The monsoons bring them rain, which they need. They need that for water. All right. See you later.